Bonjour, hi, welcome to my clothing archive, presented by The Digital Cowboy. Today, we will be focusing on the Spring-Summer 1990 collection of Comme des Garçons en Plus by Rei Kawakubo. The collection caught the attention because of its impressive cast of models for the runway, which included musician John Lurie, actors John Malkovich and Julian Sand, and painter Enzo Cucchi. They were also photographed by both Timothy Greenfield Sanders and Brian Griffin for the 5th issue of Comme des Garçons' own magazine called Six. While this jacket was worn by John Malkovich on the runway, it has also been worn by both Robin Williams and Elton John on different occasions.
To go from being an arbitrage lawyer to Peter Pan is an interesting, you get to do a few interesting things on the way. And I think that's what's fun about it.
This collection is rather unique because it was extremely well documented by Dejan Sucic in the first chapter of his book Rei Kawakubo and Comme des Garçons. This is a really incredible book if you want to learn more about Rei Kawakubo and her creative process and about the history of Comme des Garçons. In fact, an ex-employee told me that the book was given to the new Comme des Garçons staff in the 90s for them to learn more about Rei and about her company. To support our work, you can subscribe to our Patreon in the link down below. For each collection, we will be posting exclusive content, and for example, for this collection, you can watch the runway with me, where I do a live commentary of the runway with more information also. You can also follow us on Instagram at MyClothingArchive for what we have on sale and for more information in general. Comme des Garçons en Plus Spring-Summer 1990 was presented on September 1st, 1989 in Paris. It was the first public airing of the collection before it reached the shops in January. This season, the venue was moved to the Carreau du Temple, an elegant iron and glass wholesale market hall in the 3e arrondissement. It was the first time that a fashion show was presented there. To prepare for the show, more than 30 Comme des Garçons staff came in from Tokyo to work with a dozen of Paris-based employees. All the equipment and clothes were flown in from Japan, which required a total of 2 jets. The show was calculated both to put across the mood of the collection and to give the audience, which included Yohji Yamamoto, an impression of the clothes in context. The show started at around 7:30 to the sound of Camino de San Juan by Cuevas Sergio. I created a whole playlist with all the songs for the runway that you can access down below. The cast of models for the runway was brilliant. It featured musician John Lurie, actors John Malkovich and Julian Sand, and painter Enzo Cucchi, who made the cover and also did some artwork for the 5th issue of Six magazine, which was released for the collection. If you look closely, you can see Christian, the Dutch hairdresser, on the runway. He had worked with Comme des Garçons many times over the years. Other models included a nightclub doorman, an editor from a photography magazine from New York, and a bar owner from Munich. The experience must have been pleasant because some of the models, like John Lurie, came back to present Comme des Garçons en Plus Autumn-Winter 1991-1992 a few years later. In any case, Rei Kawakubo offered a rainbow for this collection with bold color schemes and delicate floral patterns, which I will come back to later on. To me, the most impressive parts of the runway were the opening by John Malkovich and the finale to the sound of In My Life by the Beatles. After the show, while invited guests were drinking champagne and models were whisked across Paris for dinner, Rei Kawakubo stayed with her staff to clear up and to prepare for the sales exhibition the next day. If you want to know more about the presentation and everything, I really recommend to read the first chapter of the book I recommended at the beginning. It's a really good book and it explains everything that happened that day. Let me come back to John Malkovich for a minute. He was extremely popular at the time because of his portrayal of the sinister and sensual Valmont from Dangerous Liaison, which came out in 1988. John said in a recent interview that Rei Kawakubo was the first designer they had worked with. However, Spring-Summer 1990 was not the first time that he had been working with Comme des Garçons. In fact, John was photographed wearing Comme des Garçons en Plus Autumn-Winter 1988-1989 by Timothy Greenfield Sanders for the 2nd issue of Six magazine. The pictures were also used as postcards. A few years later, John Malkovich fronted the Prada Menswear Autumn-Winter 1995-1996 campaign. Now, it was the day after the show that the models were photographed for the 5th issue of Six magazine. But what is Six exactly? It is Comme des Garçons' own large format magazine that replaced the catalogs as the company's primary means of putting its image across in print. It was produced twice a year to coincide with the appearance of the new collections in the shops. The title stands for The Sixth Sense, and it aimed to create a mood around the company and its collections. The magazine was often full of pictures that have no obvious relevance to clothes at all, let alone to Comme des Garçons. It is meant to be stimulating, evocative, and provocative, said its art director, Tsuguya Inoue. This is our world. We think this is beautiful. Join us if you feel the same way. And so, as said previously, the fifth issue of Six magazine featured the work of Timothy Greenfield Sanders and of Brian Griffin to showcase the menswear, among some other stuff. In the case of Timothy Greenfield Sanders, he had been working with Comme des Garçons for a few years already. He had been commissioned to photograph contemporary artists, writers, and critiques wearing clothes from the online. Luckily enough, I have found Timothy's diary entry from the day of the shoot. It goes as follows. September 2nd, 1989. Shoot in Paris with John Malkovich, Julian Sands, John Lurie, and Enzo Cucchi for Comme des Garçons. Lots of wonderful daylight inside a gigantic building with 60-foot ceilings. Later in the afternoon at the CDG office, another session with Malkovich and Sands for the cover Loi Vogue. We work in a nearby alley. After the shoot, Malkovich changes back into his own clothes, and Lily tells him that he looks ridiculous in this suit which he has altered into shorts and a jacket. Dinner at Tour d'Argent with Rika Akubo, Marion Greenberg, Karen, Malkovich, Sands, Lurie, Cucchi, and filmmaker Jim Jarmusch. During dessert, Lurie throws things into the sign from the third floor window. In the case of Brian Griffin, it was his first time working with Comme des Garçons, and he had no prior experience in fashion. He is mostly known for his photo shoot in Georgia with Comme des Garçons, which appeared in the sixth issue of Six magazine. He also appeared in the 7th and 8th issue of Six magazine, which was actually the last one. In total, the collection was made up of 1,100 pieces, with 16 suits, and no less than 111 different jackets and 74 varieties of trousers. Each style came in as many as 7 colors and was available in 3 sizes. It took 2 jets to transport the 84 cardboard boxes from Tokyo to Paris for the show. The bold color schemes were a departure from the tone-on-tone style of Comme des Garçons, and it showed that Ray was always ready to do something new. There was a colorful mix of solid colors, with floral prints, simple shirt, and ties in a variety of knots. Dejan Sujic described the collection in a very poetic way in his book. It goes as follows. On the runway, outwardly conventional wool suits succeed jackets with yoke colors shorn of their lapels. The models return in brasher jackets, each with 3 different but equally dazzling check patterns. They march back and forth in cut of blouson, jackets with double lapels, linen outfits speckled with winsome printed flowers. The clothes use fabrics that range from 100% tropical wool to exotic mixtures of triacetate cotton gabardine. There are jackets in double and twist yarn or tropical wool dyed with a splash pattern, trousers in cotton jersey reverse pile, suits in herringbone striped linen. If you want a breakdown of each look, you can watch the live commentary of the runway on our Patreon. Here you can see some of the pieces I own from the collection. First, I have this jacket which John Malkovich wore for the opening of the show. Also, I have one of the floral shirts, which is made of linen. It's really, really nice. And also, I have this shirt right here in cotton with the floral pockets. Robin Williams wore the same blazer that I'm wearing around the time of the release of Hook in the beginning of December 1991. Those pictures from December 6th show Robin Williams and Steven Spielberg at the Century Plaza Hotel in Los Angeles, California, where they were promoting the movie. Now, the pictures that you see here are from December 8th, and they show Robin Williams at the Hook Century City premiere in Los Angeles with his wife Marcia and daughter Zelda. In the same way, Elton John had the same jacket. Here, you can see Elton John wearing the jacket next to Michael Jackson at a BMI-hosted luncheon in Jackson's honor in 1990. As such, this means that Elton John did it a whole year before Robin Williams. Thank you for watching my clothing archive. This was my very first attempt at making a video, and I promise I will get better at it. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this and if you want to support, any contribution to the Patreon is appreciated. Thanks again. See ya.